in the first campaign where Hillary Clinton was about 4 states too early, and she was talking about how bad coal was and how they were going to teach coal miners how to make widgets and gadgets and technology, which they didn't want to do. They want to mine. One thing I learned about the coal miners, that's what they want to do. You could give them a penthouse on Fifth Avenue and a different kind of a job, and they'd be unhappy. They want to mine coal. That's what they love to do. And she was going to put them in a high-tech industry where you make little cell phones and things. I don't know. Do you think he'd be good at that? I don't know.
I would be.
You don't want to be. And she was brutal about 3 weeks before, but then she had a problem. She went to West Virginia looking for votes, and that was a bad situation. You remember that?
Things were falling apart for Donald Trump as his disastrous tariff plan triggered an economic crisis and fueled infighting within his White House. The entire situation was a mess. In an attempt to salvage it, Trump thought, why not grab a microphone and speak? A move that turned out to be a huge mistake. His speech to a group of coal miners left the audience bewildered as they struggled to make sense of his words. At one point, the room fell silent when Trump attempted what seemed like an ill-timed joke. It was a complete disaster, and we're about to break it all down. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, Donald Trump sounded stupid throughout this speech, but maybe the worst he sounded was right here.
Germany was finished. They went to wind. The wind wasn't blowing too much. And they went to all sorts of other things. You know, the Green New Scam hit Germany too. And guess what? Now they're back to coal. They're opening up coal plants all over Germany. We're the ones that aren't doing it. I call it beautiful, clean coal. I told my people never use the word coal unless you put beautiful, clean before it. Right, Doc? So we call it beautiful, clean coal.
Germany and wind energy are back in the spotlight, with windmills making a return as the target of Donald Trump's frustration. It's like the campaign trail all over again, with just nonsense pouring out of his mouth. What's even more absurd is that these were supposed to be prepared remarks, a written speech, yet Trump can't seem to stay on track. He veered off into his usual bizarre rants about how windmills are somehow killing whales, or whatever strange thought he followed. It's clear he's completely unhinged. When Trump feels cornered, as he clearly does now, he tries to take control, and it always ends badly. He also turns to his favorite punching bags, like Hillary Clinton, which is exactly what he did in this instance.
In the first campaign where Hillary Clinton was about 4 states too early, and she was talking about how bad coal was and how they were going to teach coal miners how to make widgets and gadgets and technology, which they didn't want to do. They want to mine. One thing I learned about the coal miners, that's what they want to do. You could give them a penthouse on Fifth Avenue and a different kind of a job, and they'd be unhappy. They want to mine coal. That's what they love to do. And she was going to put them in a high-tech industry where you make little cell phones and things. I don't know. Do you think he'd be good at that? I don't know.
I would be.
You don't want to be. And she was brutal about 3 weeks before, but then she had a problem. She went to West Virginia looking for votes, and that was a bad situation. You remember that? And there was a coal mine.
Isn't this administration supposed to be focused on the future, on jobs, growth, and all the promises of prosperity that, of course, will never come to fruition? What's truly absurd about what Donald Trump is saying here isn't just the content, but the contradiction. He's attacking the very type of manufacturing that Howard Lutnick claims is returning to the U.S. in droves, bringing millions of new jobs, all thanks to tariffs. Lutnick even used the example of screwing tiny screws into iPhones, a quote he attributes to Hillary Clinton, which somehow went from being bad to good. The message from this administration on tariffs is completely incoherent. It's just a mess of nonsense, much like Trump's random comments about California for no apparent reason.
As they do it, right? And we actually had to do some pretty strong things to get them to open it up. They had, think of this, they had all that water pouring out right into the Pacific. They had a big valve, like a giant valve as big as this room, and they turned the valve. Takes 1 day to turn it, and they face it toward the Pacific Ocean, and the water, all that was coming down, all millions and millions of gallons coming down, they put it into the Pacific Ocean, which for the Pacific Ocean is like a drop of water. But for California, it would have been unbelievable. So we did it. I'm very proud of the fact that we did it. We did.
You can see the crowd behind him starting to get visibly tired and confused as his speech goes on. The next clip really highlights the worst moment, where they're just silent, almost shocked by what's happening. What's so telling about Trump's big speeches with people standing behind him is that these are typically his most loyal supporters. They're pumped up, eager to cheer, applaud, and show their support. But even they start to look baffled, as if they're thinking, what is this guy even talking about? It's like a moment of total confusion, especially in this clip where the crowd just goes completely quiet. It's as if no one knew what to make of his words, and they were left speechless.
Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy. It's cheap, incredibly efficient, high density, and it's almost indestructible. You could drop a bomb on it, and it's going to be there for you to use the next day, which you can't say with any other form of energy. Virtually indestructible. Most importantly, we have more of it here in America than anywhere else on earth. We have more coal than any other country. You go to Australia.
Why are we bombing coal? What are you talking about? Can you blow it up? Is that how we measure what the best energy is? What can we blow up? What's the most blow-up proof energy? It's almost surreal. You can clearly see the people behind him starting to look at each other in confusion, thinking, what is he even saying? This was supposed to be a speech about supporting coal, and now he's talking about blowing it up? It makes no sense at all. As I've said before, there's no coherent message here. There's never been a clear message from Donald Trump. Just listen to what he had to say about tariffs, and you'll see the same chaotic, nonsensical rhetoric.
Sometimes you have to mix it up a little bit, but we've had great consideration. We've had talks with many countries, over 70. They all want to come in. Our problem is can't see that many that fast. But we don't have to, because, as you know, the tariffs are on, and the money is pouring in at a level that we've never seen before. And it's going to be great for us. It's going to be great for other countries. We've been ripped off and abused by countries for many years with the tariff situation. They've used tariffs against us. We didn't use tariffs against them or in any way. I mean, we just didn't use them of any monumental proportion. And so we are doing it now. We have tariffs on cars. We have tariffs on lumber, tariffs on steel and aluminum. Steel plants are going up because of it.
There's so much contradiction within the tariff plan, but this is the main point that really stands out to me. Does Trump want the deals or not? He claims that tariffs are the solution, that they'll save us. We need bigger ones, 104% on China, 290% on France, or whatever crazy numbers he's throwing out now. But then, right after, he talks about doing the tariffs to make deals. Yet the tariffs themselves are something we're supposed to want forever. It doesn't add up. Are the tariffs meant to eliminate other countries' tariffs? Are they supposed to bring manufacturing back to the U.S.? No one really knows what he's trying to achieve. This confusion is part of why the markets are tanking. It's all because of the uncertainty. Not even Trump, who loves the sound of his own words, seems to know why he's pushing these tariffs. And it's exactly why we're starting to see Republicans speaking out against him.
You're opposed to what Mr. Trump is doing. Tell us why. Tell us what you're thinking.
Well, you know, I'm kind of old-fashioned, Larry. I don't like taxes, and I don't want more of them. I also think that if you tax something, you get less of it. And I don't want less trade. I want more trade. There's a fundamental argument we have to have in this country. Is trade good or bad? The president and his counselors seem to think that in trade, someone gets ripped off. The truth of the matter is this, that all trade is mutually beneficial, and really the U.S. doesn't trade with China. You trade with Walmart. So when I go to Walmart, if I pay $10 for a shirt, I want that shirt and they want my $10, and we both go away from the deal having succeeded. We mutually benefited. That's the only reason trade happens. And then if you add it all up and say, oh, China's ripping us off, it makes no sense. Trade deficits are not real accounting. It's a fake accounting, and it doesn't mean anything. What means something is, if you look at trade deficits in proportional to prosperity, the higher the trade deficits, the more prosperity. The lower the trade deficits, the less prosperity. We get a reduction in trade deficits when we go into a recession. We get an expansion of trade deficits when we're in a boom. So really nothing about a trade deficit gives any real useful instruction to the economy.
Well, actually, I don't know whether you're surprised or not, but I agree with you about trade deficits. Actually, I've been riffing about it on the show. That's, I think, a lousy bet.
When Rand Paul starts making sense, we've got a serious problem. When Ted Cruz is going on Fox and saying reasonable things, that's a big issue. That's where we are right now. The state of things is that even Republicans are questioning the plan. And I'll give credit where it's due. Rand Paul isn't just worried about his political seat. He's actually concerned about his constituents, which is pretty wild considering it's not typically what Republicans do. What's also interesting about the tariff plan is how some countries, like Canada, are getting really creative with their retaliation, specifically targeting Republican states, which honestly I'm here for. I love that Gavin Newsom is making his own little side deals. Let the people who made this mess feel the consequences. It's a valuable lesson for them. But of course, many people have already felt the impact on their portfolios, and the Trump administration is just sitting there, unresponsive. Meanwhile, a group of Democratic senators took the opportunity to grill Trump's trade representative about the tariff fiasco. And Tina Smith, one of our favorites and a friend of the show, was right in the middle of it.
Farmers who are experiencing, you and I have talked about this, one of the worst farm economies in the last 25 years are looking at lower prices and higher input costs. Minnesotans who work on the Iron Range, which is the source of 80% of the iron ore that goes into American-made steel, they want fair trade. They want us to stand up to illegal steel dumping, but like 500 of them have been laid off because the demand for American cars has been slumping. I mean, I could go on in every sector. Consumers are freaked out. This looks like a giant sales tax to them. Retirement, stock market plummeting, and it's very hard for people to understand what is going on here. So what I want to do is to get an understanding from you of what you see as the goals of this war that we're in, because at various times it's been described as goals to raise revenue, to stop fentanyl trafficking, close trade deficits. So is the goal here to raise revenue for the federal treasury?
Senator, this is not a trade war. We have, most countries have said they're not going to retaliate. We have an underlying emergency. The goal of this, of the trade deficit, where President Biden left us with a $1.2 trillion trade deficit, and the goal is to address that and the offshoring that led to that and the non-reciprocal treatment that led to that. That's the goal. Certainly there's a tariff revenue effect. If the countries do not do this, then they will be subject to the tariff. They'll have a tariff on foreign goods instead of American-made goods.
If the goal is to close trade deficits, then that would mean that the tariffs are a negotiating tool here. Is that right? Is that how you see it?
So the
or are you trying to use them to?
Well, it can go both ways, Senator. So on the first, we've talked a lot about negotiations because a lot of these countries, they have closed off markets to our exports in unfair ways. They've done it for decades, and nothing has persuaded them. Sitting down, talking nicely hasn't persuaded them.
But if you were trying to, so I'm all for fair trade, and I'm all for the idea that if somebody is not trading fairly with us, if they're not giving us fair markets, then we need to have a strategy to go after that. But yet this is a blanket approach. It's an across-the-board approach.
They have no answers. They had no plan. And there's really no through line to any of this. And they're acting like it. And it is our job to point that out and to call it out. We're doing so on the show every single day. If you want to support that, as always, hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, and drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.